Hey everyone, it's Megan with Alder and Nance, and I am so excited to bring to you today my newest Haslam make. This week, I actually made a drafting from the Book of Fuller Figure Draftings number 3 from 1956. I'll go ahead and share the actual drawing from the book right here or here for you to go ahead and take a look at. There were a couple of changes that I made to it. It looks like the skirt was actually drafted on as a skirt and not as a dress. I went ahead and made this as a dress. And the way I did that is I actually went ahead and just did a rectangle skirt pleated down to match the actual dress. And instead of having a closure on the skirt part of my dress, I went ahead and did it as a wrap. I know that's probably not the correct way about going to do things. It saved me on buttons because I could only actually find 2 buttons for this dress that matched. I think there's one that didn't quite match, that I had 3 buttons that were red, but I only had 2 buttons, and otherwise I would have added a 3rd button up at the top. But the other buttons that I had, see if I can get them out to show you. I didn't think that these quite matched as well as the darker red, especially since I wear a lot of darker reds makeup wise. Another thing that I did a little bit different is actually on the collar. I did not use this piece on the final form. I liked how it kind of swooped out like this. I didn't feel that I needed the little notch in my collar, but I went ahead and drafted all of these using the Pattern Lab London for all of my pieces instead of using a hard copy. My little cuff right here. And I was in a rush, so I didn't actually make my own pocket. So I went ahead and printed this off from one of the free printables, in which I'll link down below if I find this. I'm not going to upload this yet to my Patreon for you to be able to download and size it out to your size just yet, because I want to do some tweakings to the pattern to be able to actually bring you multiple ranges of the sizes for these patterns, especially since, yes, I use the Haslam system for my inspiration, but I don't fully follow all of the instructions on the Haslam system. So I feel comfortable being able to release these as a multi-range, or release my draftings that I use their draftings as inspiration for. I'll go ahead and show you the process of making this, and I will join you for the final reveal here in just a few minutes. Alright everyone, we are over working in Adobe Illustrator today, again on making the Haslam system of dress cutting with the Book of Fuller Figure Drafting number 3, and we are actually going to be working on figure number 4. I am actually really excited about this. This dress has more potential to be a part of the World War II challenge for me. And the reason why is it's only got about 3, maybe 4 buttons on the front, and it looks like the skirt actually laps over in the front. So I'm not going to really need any closures there that I know of, because I could possibly actually make that crossover quite a bit and then just have 2 little buttons there at the waistline. If I have 3 buttons on the actual bodice of this and then the 2 buttons to close the skirt, that would actually qualify me for the World War II challenge. And I'm also going to be using a red and black fabric, but it's actually a sheet set that I got from Target. I believe it's 100% cotton. I don't know. When I go to talk to you actually while I'm sewing, I will double check that it is actually cotton. But I am working with my Pattern Labs or Pattern Lab London patterns instead of the Haslam patterns again. I did learn something in my last pattern that I made with them about my waistline. I should have curved my waistline down from that straight waistline that you see here, instead of with the Haslam patterns, what you'll see whenever I start actually working on this pattern is it actually curves down by 3/4 of an inch at the very middle waistline, and that should bring down my bodice just enough that it's a little bit more comfortable for me to wear. All right, let's get working.
then I have got to attach the center front to the side fronts. But otherwise, I've done quite a bit on this. Darts came out really well. On this, you can still see my chalk lines. I chalked it from the front side. I don't know why I did that. And I did go ahead and top stitch this side, and I top stitched here too. Okay, so I have the front and the front facing connected to the side front. I did not do the pointed collar. I didn't like how that looked, and I liked how this swooped out like here. Shoulder seams are done. Everything's sewn together on the front. All I have to do now is sew the side seams and start working on the faux belt. You can see that I did mess up here where these are not lined up. I actually think it adds a little bit of interest. I think it's fine. I don't think that's gonna really bother me too much, because after a while it wasn't going to match up anyways. So I think that's fine that it doesn't match up, but it gives a little bit of visual interest and shows that this is a separate piece from this. It is top stitched down. The insides of everything is serged and then top stitched down, including here. I forgot to add in my little label, which I think I'm just going to go ahead and do my label on the side seam instead of the neckline. That way it doesn't bother me as much. Neck labels that go right here bother me a lot. The only issue that I have found is, where is it? I forgot to go in and unpick right through here. It's not going to bother me too much. I don't think it's going to affect the garment too much, but there is a little pleat right here that I forgot to go and pick out. It's fine. It's not going to bother me. The back, you can barely see it. I love this fabric. It is so soft. But I do have my darts here and here. You can see where these squares get a little bit smaller compared to the other ones, but it all matches up pretty evenly. I'm actually really proud of myself of how that came out. And there's also the darts right here in the shoulders on the back. Not a fan of shoulder darts. Normally I would try and find a way to take that out, but I'm giving it a try. So my next step before I do anything is I am going to work on the cuffs after I do my side seams. So side seams, cuffs, attach the cuffs to my sleeve, and we'll go from there. All right, I finished one sleeve. I have it lined and then serged on the inside so that doesn't unravel, and then I understitched that down so that the inside is serged. So I'm going to finish the other sleeve, and then I am going to do some gathering stitches across here. It doesn't need much. There's only like 1/2 of an inch of ease in the sleeve cap, so I'm only going to have to gather this very little in the top, but I am very pleased with how this is coming. I kind of wish on the front of this, I wish I had gone ahead and done like this right here as a diagonal to really give this a little bit more, but I could have stabilized it by having it, actually putting some interfacing in it and stabilized it so it doesn't flop around, and that would have given this a lot more structure. But I don't have any interfacing in this at all so far. I might do a little bit of interfacing on the skirt placket, but I will have interfacing in the waistband. So that way when I go to put in the overlapping button area, it will go through that really easily. So I've got sleeve 1 done. I'm going to take a little bit of a break and I will come back this afternoon and we'll finish up on sleeve 2, attach that to the bodice, and we will go from there. Bye. Okay, I am wanting to show you how I put together the sleeve cuff. I go ahead and put it in right side to wrong side of the sleeve, then I sew it at 5/8 inch, go back in and I will trim it using the serger, and then I'll flip it out and I'll understitch the sleeve side in order to get it where it has just a little bit of this rolled underneath into the actual inside of the sleeve. So I've got my sleeve serged, and now I am going to go ahead and run my thread tail of my serger back through about 1 inch this way. So I started off with it right here and I threaded it back to right about there. Here I am going to go ahead and understitch this part of my sleeve cap, or not sleeve cap, but sleeve cuff down to the actual sleeve. That way whenever I fold it this back up, it's going to actually have a little bit of this underneath, and this will roll under and will look very seamless. So I now have both of my sleeves done. Now I just need to run my gathering stitches and attach them to the bodice. I am currently doing the pleats for the skirt part. What I'm doing is I'm actually doing it where I'm taking this and pulling it over here and pleating it so that way it looks the same all the way through. Okay. Currently making my hair tie. Guys, I am absolutely in love with this dress. A little bit about the fabric, since I'm just now remembering to talk to you about the fabric. It's actually a bedding set that I got right before Christmas from Target, and it was on clearance, so I went ahead and just swooped it up because it seemed like it was going to be a real soft fabric. My only issue is right here. It's a printed on pattern, so
my squares did not meet up whenever I was trying to rip all of the fabric. I made myself a little headband in which I'll link a little tutorial for you to go back and see this. It wasn't real hard to make. It's just pretty much a square, or sorry, rectangle. But all right guys, I will see you next week. Bye.